Hey folks, my name is Pravus and welcome to more Surviving Mars Relaunched in Provigrad, playing at almost maximum difficulty. Close enough, anyway. In the last video, we were able to grind through the slowest part of maximum difficulty and try to hit that exponential population growth curve, which I do believe we are just now starting to hit, which is going to be amazing for us, because now we can start really expanding across the planet and think about terraforming. We also established the Martian Assembly, which means now we have a new government on the planet. In this case, it is a scientific autocracy, which comes with a whole bunch of new beautiful laws, some of which are going to solve a lot of problems for us. For example, at the very end of the permits and efficiency row, there is going to be a way to deal with renegades. We'll come back to that, obviously, but I'm trying to beeline toward it before they become a problem. There also will be some options to deal with our seniors. Soon enough, the Bengal Fields will no longer be a requirement. Actually, by the way, there's the renegades right there. Hey, okay, so let's go ahead and prepare this law, but I'll show you what we are currently working toward. So with renegades, we're gonna have some options. Whenever someone becomes a renegade, we could deport them, send them on the next rocket back to Earth. Or we could do a crackdown. Security buildings will try to stop the generation of renegades in the first place, including in connected domes, which is really cool. However, I don't know if this works with the Rebel Yell game rule. As far as I'm aware, Rebel Yell kind of works independently of this. It doesn't even require an unhappy pop. They just become a renegade anyway. So I'm not sure this does anything for me, which leaves the last option of reform. Sanatoriums can remove the renegade trait. And this to me seems like the obvious choice. Deporting is one option, sure, but then you're reducing the number of adults that could be having children. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I'd rather try to reform them. Now the downside is, we're probably gonna have like people going to the sanatorium and clogging it up, trying to get rid of their renegade nature all the time. And in the late game, this is gonna be really difficult, but for now, this seems like the obvious choice. So if I can research those sanatoriums, which I am currently working toward, that will be a very, very enticing option. Also, as we continue, let's go ahead and address one major problem I identified at the end of the last video. I am 90% sure we have a bug in this campaign where the natural disasters are not firing off. I don't know why, because we did get some at the beginning of the campaign, so they were working, but something somewhere changed. I don't know if it's because of the release of the game. I don't think so. Something happened. I sent the save file over to some devs. I'm hoping they're going to be able to figure it out. In the meantime, if I'm going to put this colony to the test, we're gonna have to just, do it ourselves. So, I've entered debug mode, which does have a full cheat menu here now, which is great. And we can use that to trigger some disasters. And here's kind of what I'm thinking right now. We've had it easy for way too long. I think that what I should probably do is trigger disaster after disaster after disaster and really put us through our pace to see how well we are going to do. Now, some of these don't really scare me too much. Like if I were to go down here to our cheats and trigger disaster for, let's say, some meteor storms or something. Let's say just a default meteor storm, because that's how it really ought to be. We'll just go ahead and trigger. Oh my god, it did. I was going to say the odds of this actually triggering really close to me feel pretty low. I don't know if this is actually because this is where the center of my camera was or not. Uh-oh. I may have just screwed myself, depending. We've now got 2.5 sol- Oh, it's triggering up towards me. Uh-oh. Okay, I thought it was just going to pick a random spot on the map, as it usually does. But it did not this time. I suspect this dome is about to get whacked a few times. Oh my god. Okay. Here's hoping it just keeps moving in this direction and stays away from me. I don't have any way to defend against this right now. So this is kind of a worst case scenario, but I think maybe it's just barely going to miss me. In the meantime, let's go ahead and get ourselves prepped for the next rounds of disasters. I'm gonna go ahead and place down one of these subsurface heaters because we know this is going to be a thing for us. Place one there, and then maybe one up over like here, close to the dome itself, okay. Now the big downside of a cold wave when it does fire is, oh god, that rover nearly got whacked. The downside of a cold wave when it does hit is it's gonna drain a lot of my power, so I'm a little concerned about that. But, not just power, actually, sorry, water as well. Water is the thing I'm really scared of. If we burn through all of our water, we are going to die. I'll probably have to go into emergency mode and shut off a lot of stuff, but, that's kind of the entire challenge, and I want to make sure that I show off how that would work for the normal people who think that this game is way too easy. Because so far, I'll tell you what, the game has been taking it so easy on me. I don't know how we keep getting this bug, but we do. Meteor storm drifting away from me? It sure is. Okay, so we got 1 soul and 5 hours left on that disaster. We can go ahead and trigger probably the next one, because I think this one will also be relatively easy. This one doesn't concern me at all. We're going to go to the Dust Devils down over here. And just for the heck of it, I'm going to go ahead and set up, like, very high Dust Devils right here. Is it going to trigger right in this area? It is. This does not scare me at all, because as we've already discovered, I should be able to just dump, like, a dumping site on it and basically shut the thing right on off. It is coming straight for me, dude. All right, hit that. There we go. See? Dust Devils are not an issue. Really or not, as long as you're paying attention. By the way, renegades, let's go ahead and, well, actually, first we want to get ourselves a preparation. Remember, we have to do this in the right order, but then we're going to go for the reform for the renegades. All right, now we have a way of dealing with this. Good. Now that the meteor storm is basically over, which should we trigger next? I think we'll just go ahead and hit that cold wave up and see what happens. And I think it's going to happen instantly, so there's no real warning for it. We'll do a default cold wave, which should be like this. Whoops, hold on. I need to turn on the subsurface heaters, make sure these things are operating. And we want to try to encompass the center of these domes, if at all possible. I also really, really, really do not want my water to freeze, which is why we have one of these in range of all my water towers. So as long as this all keeps going, which it looks like we've done, we should be fine. Why did this not turn on? Are we out of... Oh, God, we are out of power. Okay, we got ourselves what we call a little problem, ladies and gentlemen. A problem. I need to disable a whole bunch of buildings, and now I need power. For God's sake, I need power right now. And I just got a whole bunch of little error code. Ignore this. It's probably fine. This is the problem, though, with the cold wave, is when your subsurface heater goes down, everything consumes so much extra power in order to keep the heat running that all of a sudden you have so much power draw you can't turn these things back on. So you have to basically do a giant reset of your entire colony, shutting everything you own down just so you can set these back up, and then you can turn everything back on. There we go. Okay, so now we have just enough power to get this back up and running. Okay, so things are now correcting themselves, and now we're down to only minus 33 power draw. Perfect. I'm going to throw a whole bunch of drones toward getting some large wind turbines to fix that. Oh, God, we're down to minus 218 again. See, it just shut everything off again. Oh, God. Yeah. This is why we don't like cold waves. Cold waves can be nasty. I'm doing this in part because I really want to have enough windmills to deal with the sandstorms, which is the next disaster. Why is this acting like it's still frozen over? It should have enough power. If we boost this by a little bit more, is that going to do the job? Still looks frosted over for some reason, and I'm not sure. Oh, I think it's just because everything's off. Yeah, that's the issue. It's because everything has turned off. Great. So we got a little bit of hypothermia going on right now. Just a little bit, you know. This sort of thing happens. Come on, solar panels, turn on. There we go. All right, that should help. Now we've got enough power to turn everything back on. Okay. As long as we can keep this going, we'll be all right. God, I wish that I had researched my nuclear fusion before all of this, because I could place these down, get the upgrade with eternal fusion, and I would be set to go forever here. Cold waves would not be a problem. That said, so far I think we have now stabilized. We are kind of okay. I'm going to make sure we get our batteries back up to full power. Then we can start turning our buildings back on. Yeah, only minus 55 power right now. That's acceptable. We can live with that during the night. No biggie. But for the most part, we need to keep our water and our power draw down as much as possible here. Now, we actually have a lot of water stored up. So far, we're getting through that, no issue. The subsurface heater drains one, but it's not a big deal. Power's the real killer here, and I think we're okay. Just don't work any unnecessary shifts on a lot of these different buildings, but always have at least one shift on all of the buildings outside of the range of your subsurface heaters. Otherwise, they are going to freeze over, and you're going to have to do a maintenance job when the event does end. By the way, seniors! This is the next thing that we can finally address. So, we have some options with them. Just like with the renegades, we could take old people and say, "You're useless! Go back to Earth, where you came from," which is ironic, since almost none of them came from Earth at this point. But maybe their clones did, I don't know. We just get rid of them, basically. Make it someone else's problem. We could also go for paid care. Create retirement homes and generate a small amount of money per resident. So all of a sudden, at the very least, we can drain our seniors for all they are worth in the retirement homes. Oh wow, that sounds a lot like the modern West today. Or we can put them to work. Now obviously I like this option. The seniors can work, but they have a reduced lifespan. Here's the thing, though. That's not an issue to me, because one, once you get to become a senior, you're kind of useless to me unless I can let you work anyway. So if you die earlier, that's actually to my favor. But even so, with Project Phoenix, if they die, there's a good chance they just come back as their younger self. So it's almost still like having the Bengal Fields, but I eke a few extra years of productivity out of their life. So this to me seems like an obvious win. We're gonna go ahead and do that. And with that, we no longer desire the Bengal Fields at all. So we're gonna turn this sucker off. And in fact, I'll just go ahead and commit to it. We're dismantling this thing. It served its purpose well, but it's time to go. I do think it's funny that my solution to the retirement crisis was basically to say that there's no longer such a thing as retirement. It's a little dystopian in this scientific autocracy now, ain't it? And the cold wave has officially ended. Okay. What does that leave us with? Well, there is one more disaster remaining, and that is going to be the great dust storms. In fact, I'll even make it an electrostatic dust storm just to be really annoying. So what is this going to do for us? Well, it's going to shut down all of our solar panels and all of our moisture vaporators, which means now we're really going to be pushed for power and for water. In a lot of ways, this can be worse and more dangerous than any of the cold waves. The real way to get around it is to, one, have a big stockpile of water, because, well, if you don't have that, you're dead. And then secondly, build a lot of giant wind turbines, because they get so much extra power production, it can make up for a lot. So let's go ahead and set up our default electrostatic dust storm. It's going to fire immediately. And let's see what's going to happen here. So there goes all of that, and we still have plenty of electricity working for us right now thanks to the wind turbine, so that's fine. And to save on water, what we'll do is just turn off the fuel refineries entirely so they stop drawing anything. Let's see, our subsurface heaters are already off. So what does that leave us with, really, that's draining water? We could turn off our polymer production. That would save a little bit as well. And if we need to, we can shut off the farms. So how much water does it say we have right now? It says we have 4 souls of water remaining at the current rate of consumption. Like, the electrostatic dust storm only lasts for a day. I don't feel like we're really at any danger here. In fact, if anything, weirdly, I feel like we can turn these things back on. So yeah, guys, just like that, we have managed to survive all of the natural disasters in immediate succession. Could have been a lot worse if the meteors actually had hit the middle of my base. I think that might have been GG. But we're not scared of dust devils. Cold waves, we have already proven we have a way around. It did take a bit of extra building, but we got there, and the dust storms themselves aren't much of a threat either. Nice. And now I have nuclear fusion, which means we can get those power plants up and running. Okay, this is all really annoying. I agree. Let me try to just reload the game outside of debug mode real quick and see if we can clear all of that out. Okay, let's try that one again real quick. Oh, by the way, just to toot my own horn, this tutorial video series you see right here that takes you to the main official channel, that's me. I did all that. So go check it out if you really want to learn more about the game. Okay, that's all cleared away, and we still have 5 hours left of this dust storm, but it ain't no thing. Oh, I guess we technically could have had a problem with our oxygen, but I usually have a very large stockpile of oxygen sitting around, so that was even less of an issue than the water was. So who cares? We're golden. I don't know, guys. Do you feel like I successfully made my point? We are, in fact, still, like, okay, even if we are playing on maximum difficulty. Yes, one of these storms, if it hit earlier in the series at the wrong time, could have been really painful and annoying. I agree, it certainly could have been. But, obviously, we have the tools to survive now, and I think we could have scraped by before. It just would have slowed me down a little bit more. Just a little bit. All right, let's see. What else do we want to be doing as far as laws? I don't mind setting up my service capacity buildings a little bit more. This increases how many people can go to buildings like my diner by a fair bit, so in this case by 3. But since we have service bots and stuff, this is basically just like, you know, it's just free extra service. And since our population is growing and more people are consuming from here, it just makes sense to do it. By the way, let's go ahead and also spend some of my excess power getting things like upgrades to the electronics factories and stuff. Why not? I mean, Lord knows we've created a lot of extra power for ourselves as a result of all of this. If I wanted to be really efficient, what I would do is probably go ahead and shut off all of the unnecessary extra power buildings. But remember, thanks to a breakthrough, I get extra science if we have excess power. So I don't know if it's necessarily the right choice, but the incentive to be as efficient is not as strong as it once was. By the way, for the first time in this entire series, I am going to spend a chunk of money getting some extra science, 5,000 extra science over the course of the next few souls. Isn't it an absolute ton? No, but it does help a fair bit because I'd love to get the behavioral shaping up and running a bit faster. And then also, if we can get to things like triboelectric scrubbing. that will actually make it kind of irrelevant that we're being inefficient with some things like our large wind turbines, for reasons that I will explain once we get to that point. Ooh, a faction was just created. Hold on. Is that actually... Hey, wait a minute. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, so I'm not sure why this just happened, because up to this point, we didn't have a single party. Now we've got, well, a single party. In this case, it is Prosperity for Mars, who are very, very happy with me right now. They love that I've created some sort of a modern scientific... I don't know, not exactly libertarian, it's definitely very corporatist. We've created one heck of a modern economy. So every single person on the planet is favoring this group. Good thing it doesn't matter, because like I can pass whatever I want without their opinion. It's just really interesting. Anyway, let's go ahead and get ourselves that sanatorium. We know we want to have one of those, and cleanse out the renegades. I want to also look into getting myself some upgraded factories. It is time to get a proper machine parts and electronics factory. Yes, they're expensive for me to set up, but I have just enough electronics that I can do that fairly safely, and we're going to get a lot more value out of our engineers than with our current factory setup. Now, one major problem I have right now, we are pretty much at our population capacity. If I have any more children than this, in fact, I've already got a couple of homeless people, we're going to just continue generating lots and lots of renegades. In fact, right now I already have 12 of them, which is absurd. Let's go ahead and make sure that renegade is one of the top priority traits to get rid of. Beyond that, I'll just set it to auto. I don't really care. But it's a very high priority. If you have any of these issues, especially renegades, you go and get yourself properly cleansed, okay? Anyway, I have no room for more population. So we can either just kind of eat the renegades for a while. Not literally eat. Okay, I have to actually clarify this. Not literally eat the renegades, all right? We don't have Soylent Green here. But what I mean is tank them, right? Just accept the fact that there's going to be a lot of them and hope that we can cleanse them faster than they generate, which is possible. Or we're going to need to expand once again to another dome. Personally, I favor the creation of more domes because I think that is fun. And if we're going to do that, I think I'll just go ahead and set up down over here. I mean, we've got a vista, we've got a whole load of underground rare metals, why not? Now, I do want to get myself one of these oval domes at some point, but it's not an immediate priority. For now, I think it's totally fine to just go ahead and get myself a regular dome, set that up over here, and we'll leave some space on a train so we can connect this up later to even more stuff. Oh, by the way, a whole new... Wait a minute, hold on, another faction just started up. We have the Dominion of Mars! Okay, well, these guys, I guess, really want to be, like, independent or something. How did they get 75 seats? Whatever, they love me. It's not a big deal. What are some other laws we can pass that are really powerful? Well, we have automation for one. This one is amazing. It doesn't even cost me anything as far as I know. Factories require 50% less workers. Research takes 50% less. We have no need for service. So, like, this is kind of amazing. Like, which do I want, though? Less research workers? So what this does, by the way, it does not mean that you get less science out of a building because less people are working here. It just means it takes less people to reach the maximum amount of science. So this is just straight out good for me. It's just the factory would save me so many workers. I'd be able to get to like peak production efficiency in no time flat. I'm gonna go for the factory automation. I think it's fine. Although, well, this is kind of weird. It's not working the way I expected it to. Hold on. I can still actually employ the same number of workers, and yet somehow with fewer workers, I am still producing more. So, wait. Hang on. Is this not actually calculating the way that I thought it would? Require 50% less workers, but still can house more workers, therefore factories can produce 50% more? Is that the correct way of looking at this? Because I'm pretty sure this is the same number of jobs we had before here, but I definitely think that my production's gone up. Heck, we even talked about it. I was making like 12 per day back when I had mostly full jobs, right? So I think that might actually be the way it's working, which is interesting. Not what I expected, but okay. How are we doing on Renegades now, by the way? Oh, we're down to 4. There we go. The sanatorium is doing its job. Yes, you shall be cleansed of your antisocial behavior. This is weird, by the way. I seem to have run into another bug. I may be wrong on this. This train track should be connected. Everything is thoroughly connected. And yet for some reason the station thinks that it's not, because for some reason I'm unable to actually send out a train over here. I've got no idea why. I have tried scrapping the track. I've tried scrapping the train station over here. I can do all sorts of things, and yet for some reason it says that this is not actually connected. And I've got no idea why. Huh. Let's try this one more time. If that doesn't work, then my only other recourse is to go down the shuttle route, which is fine, albeit very fuel expensive. And also, I just kind of thought it'd be fun to have trains. Like, is there a reason I'm not allowed to have nice things here? Is there a reason? It's still showing an X here, but it's not saying it can't connect. We have a train here is the thing. It says we've already got a train. Why can't I connect this? Track not connected to station. It is, though, guys. Maybe if I flip the track around, the other end will work. Nope, it is still not connected. Why? It's moments like this where I can't help but feel like I'm somehow stupid, like I'm the problem. I don't know how that could be, but somehow I'm the problem here. Right, I'm just gonna file that away as another bug report, which means that this isn't gonna work out nicely, which is exceptionally frustrating because with train being a method of transporting resources back and forth would have been phenomenal, but fine, if I have to rely on shuttles, let's go ahead and greatly increase my fuel production, and then we'll just have to rely on those the old-fashioned way. Not ideal, but those are the cards that I've been dealt, so they're the ones I'm going to play with. Let's go ahead and pass some more laws. Colonists with a high comfort rating get extra productivity, or science, or whatever, but the good news is we have exceptionally high comfort, which means everyone is now better at their jobs. Including the scientists, by the way, so I still get more science anyway. Also, some turboelectric scrubbers. So we talked about these a little bit before. They're kind of amazing, mainly because what they do is they reduce the amount of maintenance outside buildings are going to need. They suck up all the dust that is accumulating on our buildings and corroding everything. Place these correctly, and what happens is all of the buildings in their radius no longer require any outside maintenance. It just takes a little power, and every once in a while, an electronic and maintenance. You place those around things that have electronics and maintenance like the fusion reactor, you end up saving far more electronics than it costs you, and you get extra bonus from all the other buildings around it. Turboelectric scrubbers are awesome, and we can increase the radius if we're willing to spend a bit of extra power. Don't really need to in this case, but you get the idea. This run scrubber over here is going to save me a ton of machine parts. I'm no longer going to have to bother repairing my fuel refineries or any of these large wind turbines, which means they can now run indefinitely for a very, very small electronics cost. Amazing. Shuttle hubs are built, by the way. Let's spend some of our polymers and electronics to get a few of these up and running. And I'd like to get the extra technologies that will make them more effective. Martian aerodynamics, compact hangars, high-powered jets. This all costs a lot of science. And despite the fact that we have been making a lot of progress on science, it's still not quite enough. Why? Well, because I really needed the extra dome so that we could actually expand. See, reorganizing this train worked fine. All I did was just rebuild the track over here, and it actually set up, and now we could get to another metal deposit. It's a little far away, but it's fine. So what's wrong with this? Whatever, it's fine. We've got all of our shuttles, which means we can actually still set everything up over here. I'm just confused and annoyed, okay? That's all there is to it. I'm just confused and annoyed, and I want to whine a little bit, okay? New dome is set up thanks to the help of our shuttles. Maybe someday I can get these trains to work. We're going to be naming this one after Discord user General Napoleon. Okay. Actually, it's more like General Napoleon. I'm not sure why it's spelled this way, but okay. Either way, I appreciate your support. I'm not criticizing you too much. By the way, let's go ahead and increase the export value of rare metals by 30%. And we actually can start scanning the planet again. I forgot, I got the deep scanning. So let's go ahead and find out what other resources are around us. That could keep me sustained for a long time. I'm looking at the metals, and I'm feeling very nervous about this, because it's going down pretty dramatically here, because we're consuming a lot making machine parts. Honestly, if you're running out of metals, there's a very solid chance you are overproducing machine parts, and you should always check for it. Do I need even nearly this many? No, I could go ahead and pull back a lot more if I want to. The thing is, I don't want to, so we're not gonna. And while we wait for this population to start growing once again, which admittedly is an issue, I let my population get kind of old, we can go ahead and start working on some other really big and ambitious goals. I'm thinking it might be time to start terraforming. In fact, yeah, let's go ahead and do that now. Greenhouse gas factories. Let's go ahead and start pumping a whole load of CO2 into the atmosphere. Nothing could ever possibly go wrong with that, am I right? I'm just gonna go ahead and start building up the temperature here because I find that increasing the temperature is one of the easiest and most impactful things to do in the early game. One, to reduce the risk of cold waves, which admittedly aren't really a threat to me now thanks to the bugs, but also it just starts getting to a point where you can start like actually melting ice, you can start building up your water, you'll be able to get through the toxic rains and acid rains straight into nice clean rain so you can get vegetation. Just temperature is good. Temperature is a good thing to go ahead and build up now. There's no other terraforming I can do at the moment though. We have to go back to the terraforming text over here and start researching things. Specifically, the next thing I'd want to go for is atmosphere. I've always thought it's a little bit weird that you have all these terraforming techs and none of them are going to help you start building up atmosphere, one of the two most crucial ingredients at the beginning of the game. Like, it's way down over here. Why? Why not show up sooner? I don't know. Got ourselves another breakthrough over here, by the way, from a planetary anomaly. Martian-born ingenuity. So that's for everybody. Like, all of my colonists from here on out in the game are going to be Martian-born. It's just straight out 10 performance in all jobs. That's pretty good. Night shifts, meh. Capture asteroids? Yeah, I mean, if you really want to go for asteroid basing, this is a thing you can do. It just takes away the time constraints so you can actually, like, set up a whole functional colony. But I'll be honest, I don't find it that useful. I'm just going to go for Martian-born ingenuity. It's solid. Good news, by the way. Metals are no longer going to be a concern. We found a deep deposit not far away. It's going to be about 2,000 metals right over here. So, yeah, it's not hard for me to just go ahead and move a couple of trains over this direction. Boom. We're set for at least the next 100 souls, if not 200. Found another breakthrough. Oh, okay. Hypersensitive voltaics, double power from solar panels. Honestly, not necessary thanks to the eternal fusion. I might actually make it just cheaper to get domes. I think that's fine. Yeah, we'll do that. By the way, I fixed the train issue, sort of. I just took the train loop that already worked, added a stop over here, and then just re-looped it over here, and now we have trains. I don't know, guys. I don't know the problem, but there you go. And now that we've got that working, I don't mind trying to build out a proper new dome. How about a brand new oval dome? We've talked about this. I think it's time. Oh my gosh, we're almost 200 souls into the game and our last founder finally died. Project Phoenix has worked like 5 times on Vladislava, sorry, but she is finally done. Wow, okay, I don't think I've ever had technically that long of a founding age. That is hilarious. Anyway, up comes the new dome, which looks suspiciously like a Twinkie to me, but that's fine. We're gonna rename this one Thrak. And we'll just get ourselves a nice little passage across. Boom. So in this new dome, I'm just gonna accept the fact that we are gonna have very high populations, which means I'm going to need a new sanatorium just to keep on top of all of this. And there are other things we probably could use, but for now, let's just go ahead and plan out a few things. We know we're going to want to have some smart apartments, probably, that'll house a good chunk of colonists. Probably want to have a new school and university as well. A farm for the increased comfort value, and then a handful of other services and probably some production buildings as well. Oh, by the way, I did build up the Earth Embassy over here. The Earth Embassy right now is currently providing me a small amount of funding every once in a while. I believe officers are supposed to be the most effective specialization to work here. Doesn't really matter that much, though. We've currently got a law setting up double funding, so, like, it's really not a lot of money, even doubled. Like, this is going to take forever to be useful to me. But you can think of it as, like, you know, a shipment or two of some rare metals being shipped off. So, I mean, it's a way of getting some income. Not a ton, just a bit. Oh, there's the carbonate processors, by the way. Jeezums! And at 30,000 science, this is still gonna be a while. Good God. Oh, crap, we have a problem. So we have 200 metals, supposedly. How are they all stacked up over here? No, really, though, how are they all stacked up over here? Does anyone want to explain this? I have not the slightest freaking clue how this happened. This is a big problem for me because I have no metals, which means I am not producing enough oxygen in order to keep Thrak fully set up. Let's go ahead and turn on the Moxie during night. Because this thing malfunctioned, and that's how I found out that even though I thought I had a decent number of metals around, apparently I've got none. So that's really awkward. That's really awkward. Little things like that can really get you in this game, man. It really, really can. Well, one way we can keep ourselves afloat is by buying some stuff. I mean, that's always an option for us. We could get the RC driller, actually. That would be one way of solving this problem. Sure, I'm going to buy some of those. And then I'm also going to go ahead and buy a bunch of seeds. This costs me absolutely nothing to do. Why? Well, because I have a law with my mission sponsor which says they will give me free seeds. Very useful when we're going to be doing terraforming at some point soon. All right, Mr. RC Driller, never seen you before. Let's go find ourselves a little metal deposit somewhere. Something I'm not afraid to lose, like, half of the materials. How about over here in this sector, right? I'm probably not going to be doing anything in this frozen area for a while anyway. There we go. Deep exploitation. Begin. Even with only 4 workers, that's 41 metals per soul. Actually, now up to 51 for some reason. Guessing we've got some workaholics in here. That is enough to at least deal with my consumption and maintenance, at least for now. Okay. Problem solved, crisis averted. In fact, it's mining so fast that I literally can't take metals out of here fast enough before it immediately shuts down again from storage space. Oh, that is funny. More breakthroughs. We can go for more factory automation. Yeah, honestly, that seems like the best option of what I've got, so okay. Finally, we've got carbonate processors. Okay. Let's use this opportunity to start burning through all of my waste rock. We certainly have a lot of it. This is going to be a very, very expensive construction with 200 concrete each. Ow. But I've got another 1,000 or so between these two deposits. And I'm going to start working towards some of the wonders pretty soon. I do think it's worth working toward things like Project Mohole, so we have unlimited metals and rare metals to work with. And also I want to get ourselves the large-scale excavator. That's going to get me unlimited concrete. But in a pinch, we could always also get the concrete plant. That is also fine. I will say I'm a little surprised that our population is not growing a lot faster than it should be right now. Considering everyone's sitting at anywhere from 87 to 100 comfort rating, you would think that the birth rate would be extremely high. My belief is what's happening here is because we are full on housing space, in other words, there is no empty residence available, it is greatly reducing our birth rate in these domes. It's still happening, but it's just very, very little. Whereas, since I have a lot of empty spaces over here, the hope is that this is going to become a giant, well, for lack of a better word, breeding dome. We can build upon that even further if I build up a medical center over here, because there are going to be some upgrades that increase the birth rates in the medical center. So as long as we have lots of housing and lots of population here, we're going to be churning them out much faster than the renegades can spawn, and our sanatorium should be able to take care of everything from there. Yeah, there it is right there. Holographic scanning would solve the problem. Also, STEM reconstruction, delaying retirement so that people are able to live longer. That said, because I have the law that's going to make seniors working, this isn't as big of a deal. And by the way, we've reached a very important milestone. 25% temperature means that liquid water is now possible on Mars. A bit more, and we can actually get rid of the permafrost up here entirely. But now, if I want to, it would make a lot of sense to start sculpting out a bunch of lakes and start building up water levels here on Mars. Just like so. Beautiful. This is going to be a very long and painful process. But we are now making progress in 3 of the 4 different terraforming requirements, metrics, and we're almost at 100 colonists spread across 5 different domes. This is taking way too long. It's fine, though. We'll get there. Once we're at 100 colonists, that's when the mysteries should start to trigger. So I think what we'll do is we'll end this video here. We've made pretty tremendous progress, slower than I would have liked, but we did make it. And then with the next episode, what's going to happen is we're going to go through all of the mysteries. And remember, my intention is not just to do the one we started with. I'm going to go for all of the hard mysteries in the game. We should be able to survive them, but they're going to put us to the test, and that's exactly what I would like to see. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Surviving Mars Relaunched. If you did, then I would ask you to hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, make sure you hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.